The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
Pacers 125, Knicks 108, Pacers 4, Knicks 2, and the Indiana Pacers are going to the 2025 NBA Finals.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast.
The Pacers on that floor right behind me just won the Eastern Conference. They beat the Knicks, and they did it exactly their way. It was the perfect representation of what the Pacers are and what makes them so good and hard to beat more than once in a row. And they beat the Knicks 4 times, and they beat the Cavs 4 times, and they beat the Bucks 4 times, and they're in the NBA Finals for the second time in franchise history. What a moment for everyone involved, and what a game it was for them to do it. Derek Kramer, of course, the closer of these series on this podcast, is going to join me today as we break down the game for a little bit, the moment, the stuff that got them here, how this is all possible for a lot of it, and like a tiny little peek at the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Indiana Pacers are headed to the NBA Finals. You're about to hear all about it with Derek Kramer on Locked On Pacers. The Pacers are headed to the NBA Finals, the actual NBA Finals. They beat the Knicks in the conference finals. They beat the Knicks in 6, just like 2000 for their first trip. They're going again. They're playing a young guard on a great Western Conference team, and they will try to win their first championship in NBA history. They vanquished the Knicks playing the way that the Pacers do. What a night here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And the closer of these series and the man who hops on for all the clutch games today, it's the closer. Derek Kramer from iPacers blog is here. We're still in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. It's very late. Derek, they did it. They were 9-14. They were under 500 in January. People were wondering, should they be buyers? Should they be sellers? They believed in themselves. They ran it back, and they did it. They're going to the NBA Finals.
It's so surreal to hear those words. Like, I feel like I need to say it like 20 times before it kicks in. Like, the Indiana Pacers are going to the NBA Finals in 2025, the first time in 25 years after they also beat the Knicks in that series as well. It's truly incredible. Like, I keep going back to just like what this team looked like not that long ago and how quick this rebuild. Like, the Pacers were still calling it that at the beginning of last year. Like, they didn't have playoff expectations fully in the front office like the roster did. But it's just an incredible 2 seasons. They're 4 wins away from an NBA championship. 4 wins away. It's just so insane to say.
It is insane to say. They beat a 64-win team to do it. And I think a little part of them is happy that the New York Knicks stayed healthy for the entire series and still could not beat the Pacers. I thought this was the absolute perfect game for the 2025 Pacers to win, to make the finals. Everybody's watching. These games are getting crazy good ratings. Some of that's because they're playing the Knicks, but regardless, it's the Pacers on the big stage, a chance to go to the finals. And what have the Pacers been? What are the Pacers? Why are they this good? Why do players think Tyrese Haliburton is overrated, but this team is still really good? Why is Pascal Siakam getting just 4 third-team All-NBA votes, but this team is still good? They have a lot of very good players who do very important things to the function and the process and the success of this team. And those 2 stars happen to be better than the public sees. And so a game like this comes where they lose in New York. They look bad. The sky is falling. They got smoked. They didn't score 100 points. And what happens? They come in and they play a perfectly Pacers game. They've done this throughout the playoffs to close out series. And I just think it's the coolest way for them to do it. Pascal Siakam, MVP of the series, spot on, had to be him. 3 30-point games, 31 tonight, couldn't be stopped, 8 free throws, 10 made shots, great ball movement, plus 25. He carried bench units. He dominated with the starters. You put Josh Hart on him, he's going straight to the rim. That's exactly what he's good at, punishing smalls in transition to beast. Tyrese Haliburton takes 7 shots last game, gets blasted. Not a good performance from him. 17 shots tonight, 13 assists, 3 steals, 21 points, 13 assists, another double-double, plus 24. They dominate in his minutes, and you know, Derek, that Tyrese Haliburton's feeling it when he's dunking twice in the game. A very excited Tyrese Haliburton. Andrew Nembhard, put him right back on Jalen Brunson. Give him another chance after last year.
Unreal.
Awesome. Unreal. His best defensive game of the series. Brunson goes 8 for 18 with 5 turnovers. Unbelievable game. Miles Turner with defensive moments. He had too many fouls, but he goes 4 for 6. He shot over 50% every game this series. Aaron Nesmith goes 4 for 8 on one ankle. Their depth was incredible. Obi Toppin, very good. Thomas Bryant exploding in the second half. Unbelievable game from the Pacers, who got contributions from everybody and showed exactly why they won 50 games this season and what makes them who they are, to beat a team that not many thought they could. They were better than the Knicks 4 times, and they are finals bound because this is who they are and this is what they can do.
No, I think that's the most impressive thing about this team. Like Rick said at some point during this playoff run, I don't remember exactly when, like, we're a team that needs everybody. And it's literally true. Like, I don't know how many teams in league history, like I have no idea how many played 12 guys during a playoff run, and they all had major contributions, huge moments. Like a guy like Thomas Bryant, who gets out of the rotation for Tony Bradley, who's another guy who has huge contributions in this series where you're not expecting anything from him. And then Thomas Bryant just has the game of his life with hitting those just open three-pointers from the corner. Just some awesome blocks on the other end, just did everything possible that he could do. Andrew Nembhard with the 3 probably his worst playoff games that he's ever had, and then comes back tonight with just an unbelievable performance, just his best job he's ever done on Jalen Brunson. The way that he got into his head, like Brunson headbutted him at one point, and the refs missed it. They don't review for a hostile act or anything. Like, he was going at Jalen Brunson, and like just an unbelievable performance. He was truly playoff Drew in this one. Like, even in the first half, he couldn't make as many shots, but he had 5 steals in the first half. In one half to have 5 steals is just insane. I just like Jarris Walker. Hopefully the injury isn't too bad.
He was great.
It did not look good, but he's another guy, like, didn't play this entire series. One of the few bright spots in game 5. He played some huge minutes with Aaron Nesmith dealing with foul trouble, dealing with the ankle, all of that. Like, he was playing over Benedict Mathurin in the second half. Like, it didn't look like Mathurin was going to get second half minutes, but even Ben, like, you look at those last 2 games that he had, and he was one of the best, like the Pacers' best players in these last 2 games. They just had so many guys throughout this playoff run that contributed. Like, you just don't, like, you always hear the shorten the rotation. Like, that's what happens in the playoffs. And the Pacers are like, no, we're going to play probably 10 guys a night and maybe even 11 in one game, and it's going to work.
I love that this team goes against the adages. The game slows down in the playoffs. No, heck no. Faster. Every loss, Dirk, if you ask a player, what do you guys need to do better in the next game? It's the first thing they say. Oh, we got to get our pace back. We got to play faster. And they're right. It's not just fluffy media nonsense. And tonight they played fast. They got shots early in the shot clock. They loved them. They made them. 17 made threes. And I was talking to you at halftime about this game. They were up 4 at halftime. They were winning, but they made a lot of threes in the first half. It kind of felt like, they could win, but that's pretty good shooting. But like every three they were generating was very open, very good. And yes, some role players made threes. That's why we're talking about Thomas Bryant. But like, if you make threes, that's good. If they're open shots and they go in, that's good. And they kept doing that in the second half. They turned up a lot of other things, and that's where the separation came. Their defense got better, and they out-hustled the Knicks. The wear-down effect was on display. The play in my notes, this is it play. They're up 16. It's 110-94. It's basically over. There's 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go. And Tyrese Halliburton misses a little shot in the lane, blocked by Mikal Bridges. There's 4 Knicks right around the ball. And Pascal Siakam runs in, gets the offensive rebound, resets the possession. Pacers turn around. 5 seconds later, Andrew Nembhard, who's had a series where his efficiency finally dipped, hits the 3. The effort was there. They go up 19. The building explodes. Everybody knew right then, if he is diving in for that rebound between 4 guys, it's over. The Pacers are going to win. They're going to the finals. They had everything tonight. They had the chippiness, the force, the pace, everything that makes them who they are. And they're not lying. They go against all these adages and they win. It's just very cool. And it's a moment for the franchise that has only done this once before. Like, ask tons of franchises about just making to the finals. I know there's lots of fans who don't care. Championship or bust. I understand why people think that way. This is a monumental deal. I thought last year was a big deal, and then they repeat it, and then they go farther. I mean, that's just a crazy run for a great team.
It's just like you think about all the crazy stuff that's happened in this run, and just like the unbelievable comebacks, the unreal moments, as we have used that word so many times over the course of
they
this.
They have another one in them.
Like, they've gotten one every series. And the Thunder have had their moments where they've looked a little shaky in the clutch. The The trouble is always like getting them close enough.
We will get to the Thunder later.
Yes. I'm just so happy for these guys, like especially Miles Turner.
Yes.
Like 10 years with this franchise. Like it's such a huge thing that like TNT chooses to talk to Miles Turner and not Tyrese Halliburton during the celebration.
And it's the right choice, I think.
Yeah, which was fascinating. But like you just think about all the stuff he's been through, like over the years with this team, and you look back at like when the Pacers acquired Tyrese Halliburton and they're trading away all these guys. Like if he wasn't injured at the time, like he might not still be here. Like the Pacers were trading away everybody at the time. Like, and you just think like maybe he doesn't even get this chance to stick with this team. And there's so many moments like that. Like you just think about the DeAndre Ayton signing, the attempted signing there. You think about the Gordon Hayward sign and trade rumors where Ainge is just trying to eke out every single asset he can from the Pacers before they just both move on. Like there's so many moments. Zach Lowe mentioned like that the Pelicans were sniffing around trying to get Miles Turner at one point. Like that's one I'd never heard before. And like here he is. Like he just had like it's unreal. I'm just so happy for him. Like seeing him lift that trophy right as Herb Simon's trying to hold it, and this like you can't help but just really feel happy for Miles Turner. It's just awesome stuff.
The NBA playoffs roll on, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and you place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking your favorites or diving into player props from three-pointers to steals to assists. There's so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
The Knicks are officially eliminated from the playoffs.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
The Knicks season is over. We thought maybe there was a chance they could pull this one out. I thought certainly through the first half, I was like, you know what? They're keeping the Pacers enough at bay. The Knicks were not shooting well. So I thought, hey, if they turn the shooting around, they're only down by 4 at half. Like, I think they were playing well enough on defense in the first half. And then the Pacers, as they're wont to do, just completely blew the doors off this one in the second half. The Knicks coverages got worse. So their defense was just horrendous, especially in the third quarter. And the shots did not, as it turns out, start falling for the Knicks. They end up shooting overall just a woeful shooting splits for this game. 47.7% from the field, 28.1% from three, and 65.4% from the free throw line. Just absolutely disgusting. Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I'll let you choose where to start on this game here.
Yeah, this is like a terrible version of pick your own adventure. I've made the analogy before, but it's Oregon Trail, where no matter what path you pick, you die. But on that happy note, I think to me this game is defined by the Knicks stars not showing up feels harsh, but I'm gonna maybe put it that way. I think Karl Anthony Towns is where my mind goes first. I think the Knicks would have had a dramatically better chance to win this game if he didn't play. I don't blame him for playing. I think that's ultimately like on Tom Thibodeau to make that decision. Offensively, he was not incredible in this game, but he was good enough, right? 22 points in 38 minutes, living at the free throw line, even though he only shot 6 or 10 from there. His efficiency was limited by the fact that he went 0 for 4 from 3. Still was 8 of 19 overall, 22 points, 14 rebounds. The defense was just completely untenable, both in the half court and in transition. Indiana piles up 25 fast break points in this game after the Knicks really kept them down last time out. And Cat was there were plenty of issues to go around, and we'll get to Jalen Brunson's culpability in that. But I think Cat is kind of your number one target if you're going to talk about it. Like he on a bum knee, so like I question, like after ripping Julius Randle a new one when he ultimately needed ankle surgery in that 2023 Heat series, I'm a little reticent to just toast Cat when he's clearly playing through an injury. But my God, the guy did not get back. It was 5-on-4 against one of the greatest transition teams in NBA history every single time. And that is just death. And where Cat like does have direct responsibility is we saw this going back to, I think it was in, I want to say game 4, where he was just like leaning forward for an offensive rebound and it led to an Indiana run out. You just see that over and over again, where for someone who is so slow and is not moving well, you would think like all their energy would be, all right, I need to start going back early. If I'm not around the rim, if I'm not crashing, if I'm not the one shooting, like those plays you can excuse a little bit. But when he's on the arc, like he is just never leaning back. He's never going back. I think the Knicks are generally fairly poorly coached in that respect, because they like, knowing Indiana's going to do that, they very rarely have safety valves. And even when they did have safety valves, Indiana was just faster, getting down the floor, more athletic, more tenacious, playing a little bit harder in that respect. I asked Tony East, I said, was this different against the Bucks and the Cavs? And he said, no, they were just as bad. So take everything I'm saying there with a grain of salt. The half-court defense, Alex, I think might have even been worse for Cat. Like basically anytime they put him in the action, someone was getting an open layup, someone was getting an open 3. There were just inexplicable communication gaps. Like there was an inbound where he's guarding Siakam. OG Anunoby says something to him. Cat just kind of wanders away. OG doesn't move up. Pascal hits a 3. Literally the next play, he switches onto Nesmith in transition. And then he just kind of goes down and tries to scram Brunson out of a matchup on Turner. It's a Nesmith 3. Like over and over and over again, you just see Cat involved and like either just wandering off, not paying attention, or just not in the right spot. And it just led to a bunch of easy buckets for Indiana. Jalen Brunson was inefficient on offense. His turnovers led to a bunch of Indiana points. For the sake of me not talking this entire first segment, I'll throw that to you if you want to talk about him or if you want to expand on Cat. But I think this was just a nearly impossible game to win when the Knicks' 2 best players played the way they did.
Yeah, I'll close the door on Cat, I guess, just by saying like some of it could have been excused, I guess, if he was having like a supernatural offensive game, but even that was just everything that's been going in for him lately. Every layup around the rim, every drive, every whatever that he's been, largely making lately just did not go in. And that certainly didn't help matters. Like if he had dropped 40 in this game and the Knicks ended up winning it, or it was really close or whatever, then you say, whatever, I guess we could live with the defensive deficiencies to a degree because he kept them in it offensively. But, as it turns out, I mean, just a woeful shooting game for him, like 8 of 19 from the floor, 0-4 from 3. So couldn't get anything going from there. Granted, whatever, some of that's the scheme and the fact that the Knicks just don't ever look to get him involved with shooting threes. And Cat kind of just has to shoot like weird heat checks all the time. But then 6 of 10 from the free throw line too was pretty inexcusable. I mean, his free throw shooting was terrible. I'm with you. And I certainly empathize with him as someone who also has bad knees in his, 30s. Like some days when your knees aren't feeling good, you just can't do it. But, I think that it would have been on, this is, again, I feel like it'll be a consistent theme maybe throughout this episode, throughout this whole offseason, depending on what the Knicks end up doing. Like, a lot of this comes back to Tibbs and never being willing to identify when something's not working or someone's having an off game and sub them out, even though it's the tough decision. Like, I think there were a lot of times where just having Mitch out there with, all the shooters would have been more beneficial, or even Mitch out there with the rest of the former starting lineup instead of Cat, like could have been beneficial in this game. But, Tibbs pushed those buttons way too late in this game. Like they were already down by double figures and, things were not looking good by the time he finally gets Mitch in. And, it was like Mitch had a great first half. Having him potentially close when you can't hit a shot makes a lot of sense because he gets you second, third opportunities all the time. So I don't understand why Tibbs waited so long to push that button. But also it doesn't help that Brunson just, I mean, for as on as he was in the last game, he was equally as off in this game. Just could not get by the defense that the Pacers were playing on him, which it was Nembhard more in this game than Nesmith. Nembhard was all up in him for like the whole game, and they had a couple tussles. There was one where, Nembhard just kind of blatantly like pushed Brunson and then was confused why he got a foul called on him. There's another one where Brunson coming down the floor to create a little space, like throws a little headbutt into his chest. Like just a lot going on in terms of how that matchup played out. But clearly, they got under Brunson's skin. The Knicks also, I don't think, were as creative in setting up scenarios to get Brunson the ball in this game as well to shake that defense. Like I thought there was more, so that there was still the, having Mikal bring the ball down, having Hart bring the ball down, whatever. And they were doing that. But then it seemed like all that they were trying to do is just free Brunson up on the perimeter to receive the pass, rather than last game where they kind of caught the Pacers off guard by having Brunson like cut off an off-ball screen and get in that way, or just in general use an off-ball screen, get it, and then work with the defense tilted already. There was just none of that in this game, or at least very little of it compared to the previous game. And I don't fully understand why they didn't go to that more. Granted, it also didn't help that like I thought that in general, especially again, I don't want to pick on the guy, but like from Cat, the screens were horrendous in this game. Anytime that he went to set a screen, he was avoiding the contact like the plague. And that was again very different from how he was in Game 5 just a couple days ago. So that's part of it, and that's part of why I think Brunson also wasn't able to get free as much as he maybe wanted to, and why Nembhard was able to just get around those screens as much. But still, Brunson has a rep of being one of the best one-on-one scorers in the game. He has toasted Nembhard before in the past. And he did it all of last playoff, certainly. So it I don't know. Something just seemed off with him as well. He didn't seem quite as, I don't know how to explain it. He just didn't have that it factor in this game. And as a result, I mean, he has, as much as I just said, Cat had a bad shooting game. Jalen Brunson, 8 of 18, 2 of 7 from 3, just 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Didn't seem as adept at getting inside and getting free throw opportunities, which is certainly a big part of him being able to have big scoring games. And, as a result, he ends 3rd on the team in scoring for this game, which again, not something you probably thought would happen.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The stage is set. It's the NBA Finals. It's the Thunder Pacers. It's the first time since the luxury tax was implemented that neither team in the finals is paying the tax. This will be our 6th non-tax paying winner ever. First time since 2007 that neither team in the finals played on Christmas Day. First title winner is guaranteed in the matchup for the first time since 2006, Heat and Mavs. We'll have a first-time champion out of this when it's all said and done. And the shortest distance between two home arenas. Great news for us. Since 1971, whenever the old Baltimore Bullets and Bucks got together. Best offense, best defense, 2 stars in Shea and Halliburton, who will be a part of that Netflix starting 5. Michael, how excited are you for this NBA Finals?
I'm just thrilled. We have the flyover finals. We have the power friendship finals. I'm ready to go. I'm glad it's close enough, like you mentioned, for us to keep our drive alive here. But you set the stage perfectly of just like all the stuff going into the series. There's a whole lot of fun aspects and different things going into this series that we're going to talk about soon.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see these two teams compete, regardless of what shares it does per the Nelson ratings. This is going to be a very fun NBA Finals, and we'll have it all for you here on Locked On Thunder, Locked On Pacers, Locked On NBA. Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube. Michael, we're going to have our X factors and our keys. I think that my biggest X factor / key is going to be Rick Carlisle, because this is his 6th NBA Finals in some capacity. He's done masterful coaching jobs in the past, especially, the 2011 Mavs, and even, maximizing his rosters that didn't get to the finals, but squeezing out every, creative and competitive advantage that he's been dealt with those rosters. And how does Mark handle the adjustment battles between a guy like Rick Carlisle? Because the biggest key on the floor, I think, is Tyrese Halliburton, because how much pressure do the Thunder want to send to him? Because they're used to swarming the ball. They're used to getting into guards and their handle. But he's an elite playmaker. And he's also flanked by incredible secondary playmakers, to where if he gets the ball out of his hands fast, as he typically does, he's tossing it to either open scorers or guys who you also trust to make split-second decisions, which then can really bend the defense and hurt a team that is so great in rotations. But the more that there's ball movement, the more possibility for breakdowns of that rotation. And as we know, the Thunder typically concede corner threes, and this is not a team you want to do that against. So how the Thunder handle Tyrese Halliburton and what adjustments that they make to their overall defensive identity, I think is going to be a big key. And of course, that goes back to the coaching battle.
Yeah, with the coaching battle, that's something I had later on, but just you can't control your matchups, as we know. But two of the coaches that Mark has faced so far have been guys who have been interim, who later got promoted, but got promoted to interim late in the season after a couple of guys got fired. And then Chris Finch, pretty established, but Rick Carlisle probably has more playoff success and more playoff experience than everyone Mark has faced combined, including Jason Kidd, Willie Green. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those two guys match up. But I'd say my number one X factor is somewhat related to what you said about Tyrese Halliburton. I remember I said this back in the Wolves series, and I once again am saying it again, of just like, look who the Pacers have faced. I think it's going to be a real jump in terms of the defensive personnel that this Thunder team is able to throw at them. Indiana so far has played guys like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, DeAndre Hunter, and whoever the Bucks were throwing out there as point of attack defenders. It's going to be leaps and bounds, just like a massive adjustment night and day, going from those guys to Case Wallace, Lou Dort, and Alex Caruso. You can even throw Dub in there. But those three main guards, I think it's going to be a massive jump for Halliburton. And I'm really interested to see how those guys match up with him, and if they're able to slow him down, because just looking at them physically, it feels like they're going to have a better shot than just about anybody he's faced so far.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches for Oklahoma City that, throwing in even J-Dub, who's an all-defensive defender, is just illustrating how great this historic unit has been. I think that J-Dub will be the key of that Thunder's defense, because he's going to have to either match up with Siakam. He's going to especially have to be disciplined and athletic the entire series, playing the passing lanes and closing out to the shooters off of those secondary actions that we talked about, with the Pacers being able to find guys who can knock down threes and create advantages. But yeah, how the Thunder match up with the Pacers, who they deploy on Tyrese Halliburton and Siakam especially, will be huge, because as they've done this whole postseason, they have frustrated or outright taken away the opponent's top options. I mean, they've done it every single series. As far as Jokic standards go, they took away Jokic. Now they didn't when you look at the counting stats. But as far as what you would expect from Jokic, you couldn't have designed a better system to stop him, and he still almost was able to beat the Thunder, which is just a testament to how great he was. But they took away Jamal Murray. They took away the Grizzlies for whatever that's worth. And then they just absolutely obliterated Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. And they find that same success against these two guys who do present just a wholly different dynamic than what they've faced to this point. I'm very curious how the Thunder will match up with Siakam. What bodies do they want to throw at him?
Yeah, we've seen the Thunder really cross-match, and I think that's something that you're going to see a ton, where Siakam, they loved running transition, and he just got easy bucket after easy bucket in transition, just outrunning guys like Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. So I'd be sort of fearful of that, of matching up Hartenstein with him, whether that's starting out in the second rotations, cross matches, whatever. But I think that's going to be really key. So the Thunder have enough big defensive guards, I think, that they'll be able to handle him, but you can't just let a guy like that just sort of just run loose. And then to the point you mentioned about Jokic, I had that in my notes as well, about can you make Halliburton one-dimensional? Mark talked about it earlier today at practice, or yesterday, about Halliburton reminds him a lot of Steve Nash, of his dynamic scoring is what opens up the passing. And can you make him one-dimensional? You're not going to close off one or the other, but can you make him lean towards one way? And you mentioned Jokic. We saw what this defense did to Jokic. That was his lowest assist per game total in a playoff game or a playoff series in 3 seasons. Can you do that to Halliburton? Can you make him lean towards more scoring where he's not getting guys going as much around him? Or can you make him more of a passer where his shooting doesn't open up things as much.
Yeah, that's going to be very fascinating just to see how they handle the Tyrese Haliburton matchup. I think that my next key and X factor is going to be the Thunder's three-point shooting, because I fully believe in the Pacers' ability to find success from beyond the arc, and OKC has to keep close. They have to keep pace, for lack of a better term. Can Alex Caruso stay hot in the playoffs? Can J-Dub shoot the way he shot in Game 4 against Minnesota consistently, where he's like a three-point shooting play finisher for this team, especially sharing the floor with Shea? And then can Chet Holmgren punish Indiana for cross-matching? Because if they don't cross-match, then he's going to be able to pull out Turner out from the rim. So in all likelihood, you're going to see open opportunities for Chet from three. Can he make you pay? And then this has been a Thunder team that has capable shooters, that has, since the turn of the new year, had been a really staunch three-point shooting team. But in these playoffs, they haven't had some eye-popping series shooting the ball from beyond the arc. What if this is their series where they actually shoot the ball really well collectively? So I think that will be a massive factor that will swing this series either to the Thunder's direction, to Indiana's direction, or just kind of keep it somewhere in the middle. But it's going to be a big reason for kind of the cause and effect of what happens in these finals.
Yeah, the three-point shooting, if the Pacers shoot it really well and the Thunder don't, they get a fighting chance in this series. They can take it because three-point shooting's so big. If the Thunder shoot well and the Pacers don't, this one's over. You can just wrap it up. If both teams shoot well, I think it favors the Thunder. But yeah, the Pacers number one in three-point percentage in the playoffs. The Thunder around middle of the pack, but we've seen it being just like weighted heavily in just a few games. Like we've talked about those stats with Isaiah Joe, where most of his threes in the playoffs came in like 2 or 3 games. I think that is a factor with the Thunder where it hasn't been super consistent. It's been more cold than hot. So I'm interested to see that as well. And then the next point I had was just about, you normally relate to this to football, like complementary football, but the Thunder have to play complementary basketball. Mark a lot of times has talked about, it's hard to get the offense going when we're taking the ball out of the net every time. That's got to be a key of finishing off possessions, making the Pacers take it in the full court and create these slower half-court possessions. You can't miss these layups, you can't miss these threes, and let the Pacers spring out. Make them score against your all-time elite half-court defense and all these defenders you have. Don't bail them out by just taking bad shots and letting them spring out.